Try it out. You will see anybody, new people, anybody can try it out. It's so simple. You go to somebody on the street, offer him a book. If he says no, then you go to the next one. What's the big deal? The only problem is our mind, false ego, and all these mental barriers we are putting up. Otherwise, no problem. Yeah. There's a border here between Czech and Germany, which means actually it's Himachalam. It's just very close. Once I drove here, and there was suddenly there was still quite some years ago, there was a police check, So the police stopped my car, and actually we were more devotees. He stopped the car, and then he looked inside, and there was an altar. And he was going, Then the other policeman, he came around and he said, now, again Hare Krishna. It was a festival time, it was one car after another going. And the third policeman, he said, well, I have already Krishna book part 2, And the other policeman, he said, I am Bhagavad Gita. But I don't want any book anymore. I said, it's okay, it's nice, bye-bye. And we just kept on driving. I was going, that's a good thing. That's devotees were here. And this is what Prabhupada wanted. Hare Krishna, a book. This is everywhere. Hare Krishna, a book. Complete connection, because the moment first books came out, Prabhupada said, now they will take us seriously. Before we were just singing, hippie singing and distributing some nice food maybe. Yeah, that's nice, but a book, that's serious. This is something which people open and they realize, they have something serious to say here. So Prabhupada put so much stress on this book distribution. Whatever times we are living through, in what kind of age our body is, this will all disappear. The times, the body, maybe even this building, we don't know. It's made from marble, it's made from stones. We don't know. But the books, they will stay. And anytime, anywhere on this planet, somebody can find a book from Prabhupada, open it, read, and thinking, this is the real thing. And so far we notice there will be always some devotees around. Even in times where you think, now it's really tough. Like Ramakana Maharaj stressed today, the need to have association devotees. I lived through times where I had to look for them. It's not like I left the association of devotees. Not at all. I never did that. But I had to look for them. There were so few. Those come from India, they have no idea. Or from Russia. In Russia, you just sit under a tree and go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There's 2,000 people sitting there. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Spasibo. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. They have no idea what they are doing, but they are already chanting. This is also one of these places. In India also, Krishna, I know. My grandfather was chanting Hare Krishna. This is another problem you have there. They think they know it. But still, here in the West, I found locations. I would have to travel 200 kilometers to find somebody who is chanting Krishna, Hare Krishna. So we should be cautious about this. This is a very urgent and important message. Sankirtan devotees, you may think there are not so many, right? There never were too many. At the best times of Germany Yatra, there were maybe 30 devotees going out here on Sankirtan regularly. That was the top from the whole country. We used to ask people on the street, how many Hare Krishna you think are in Germany? Nobody said less as 50,000. You know why? Because we were everywhere. They said, I met Hare Krishna in Hamburg, Hanover. Yeah, I know, in Kassel I met you. Yeah, you are everywhere. But it was the same guys traveling with the same car around. So you don't need actually many. I just read a shocking letter from Prabhupada. He said, actually to spread Krishna consciousness, we just need one good man in one country. That's it. One country, one good man. Then we are spreading the whole movement. So Prabhupada was not so obsessed with quantity. He wanted to quality. And if you want quality, again, not suppressing or not minimizing any other services, but Sankirtan, this is forcing you to think in equality terms. You have to go inside, you have to reconsider your conditioning. There's no place for hypocrisy, cheaters, or false concepts, designations. There's no place for this. You cannot go on a street and going, you must take the book. I'm the big guru, you know. Oh, they will say, oh, that's the worst ones. Get out of here. It doesn't help, isn't it? You cannot go out there, danda, and going, I'm a sannyasi, you must take a look. Especially here in the West. In India, maybe, but here in the West. Sannyas and Santa Claus is the same thing to them, you know. It doesn't mean one thing. They both have a stick. You know, it's just they have no culture. There's no culture. There's nothing here. So what actually Sankirtan means that you have to prove yourself being a real devotee. You have to show Krishna, I want to become tool in your hands. You have to show Krishna, I want to surrender here. I have nothing else to desire. I have nothing else I want. Please. When you have this, then suddenly things become very simple. Ahituke apratihata. It cannot be stopped by any material circumstance. It will come up again and again and again. Now, I didn't plan here to speak all the time, so alone. Since it's a Sankirtan meeting, I hoped, and I still hope, that there may be some Sankirtan devotees around. Maybe asking, commenting, so we can make it more interactive. Is it possible? Yes? So come up with something. Yeah, much more full of nectar as me talking here.
I would just tell one experience I had on Sankirtan. This was my first marathon this year, and there was this guy, he was in Cologne, and the train station, he wanted to go to an ayahuasca retreat, and he was very fixed in his spiritual...
What?
Ayahuasca, this is this South American, it's kind of a medicine, but it's like a drug. Yeah. But it heals the people, kind of. You go through
drugs make you feel wonderful, certainly.
So, but anyway, he was fixed in his spiritual concept, so he didn't want to take a book. So I just gave him the mantra, because I thought, if he's already into spirituality, I give him this mantra. So he didn't got his train, so he was waiting for another. Half an hour later, he came to me, and he was changed. Like before, he was more in ego, kind of in his ego mood, and then he was so looking innocent and looking with his eyes to me, and I feel like hugging him because he was so changed. And he said, "What mantra did you give me?" Really
well,
nice.
You see, we are serving basically as the caretakers of a train station. You know, people arrive from all kinds of directions with different motives, but there might be some spiritual inclination. So now we are like a train station, okay? You come to this train station, and there's basically one track going out straight, back home, back to Godhead. Now, not all of them may take it. It's for them too simple, too straight, you know. Too, they would call it even too exclusive, or too, simply too radical. So they like, esoteric people like this, to have this, let's explore, this herb and this, So they like this. Still, they may be affiliated with Krishna consciousness. And we are just offering them this possibility. Because we know even 1 second being spent in Krishna consciousness never goes in vain. So that's what he takes on the road. And therefore Sankirtan, there used to be a big discussions. Fortunately, I don't hear much of this anymore. But people don't read these books. They are not, they may take it, buy it, but where is the result? We distributed so many books, so there should be armies of bhaktas, at least armies of intellectual people who discuss Bhagavatam, esoteric people. Why not? It's not happening, isn't it? Yes, you know what? I never bothered with that. Prabhupada said we should do it, and let's do it. He didn't bother with that. I just read recently another beautiful, most encouraging letter. Prabhupada reveals a little secret. He said, I never preach to people. I am not here for the people. I am here to please my spiritual master and Krishna. And if somebody joins in, very good. If not, I'm doing it anyway. With this kind of motivation, you're unstoppable. Nobody can stop you. It's a wonderful letter. This is a very essential point. We always, they have to approve, or they have to like us. Successful preaching means they like you, right? No. Be aware if they really like you. I know things I could distribute on the street. I think quite many people will like me. Some bottle of wine, some pornography. I mean, many people go, hey, it's a good guy. Not Bhagavatam and books about God. So we are not here to please people, really. We are here to please Krishna and Prabhupada. But that doesn't mean we should be arrogant to people. We should make it any way possible for them to accept this. But still, if they don't accept, what can we do? There's one morning walk. One disciple is asking Prabhupada, he said, but what about Prabhupada? What about the people who don't take this message? What about the people who try so hard? They never take it. Prabhupada said, they will go to hell. Prabhupada, how can we prevent that? Prabhupada said, no, we cannot. They will go to hell. So we should be also clear about that. It's one Indian gentleman, he goes in the same desperate mood to Prabhupada. He goes, Swamiji, who will really spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Prabhupada looked cool at him and he said, don't worry, it's not going to be you. It's pretty heavy, just to take down this pathos and this of this man, So it's not our business to be pathetic or to be we simply do our duty. And the result is up to Krishna. Now I am like 50 years around, okay? You cannot imagine in 50 years what the changes I could see in frame of Krishna consciousness in ISKCON. If I would tell you some of the days I lived through in this movement, you wouldn't even believe this. But essentially, when I look around, well, I was sitting in this room when the marble floor was still fresh and new. And I'm sitting here, I don't think much changed, really. It's the same chanting you do here. It's the same book distribution, ki jaye. Life goes on, And that I feel sometimes to look for a Sankirtan devotee with a magnifying glass. Well, that's what I did before also, It's not like even everybody stayed on Sankirtan. No. I had to also stop my book distribution. They told me for physical reasons. I never accepted that. Every day I think, my God, what am I doing here? But what shall I do? Be desperate and share my despair with you and depress you even more? No. So the young devotees think, oh my God, what a depressed old guy. Maybe I will also become like that. Therefore, I'm opposing the seniority cult. He's a senior Vaishnava. He's not blissful, doesn't laugh, and can depress you in 2 minutes. Because he will tell you, it's not easy. But we have to become ecstatic. Just by looking on a man like this, you go, well, maybe you should do it first. It's kind of not very encouraging, isn't it? So I made a vow, I will never become like that. Forget it. There's no reason. Look at the example of Prabhupada. He was the oldest of us all. His disciples were in the age of his grandchildren. And he had to teach the hippies how to dance. They were all just, how does it work? Prabhupada said, like this. Dance, like this. That's how it works. And what shall we do? Take prasadam. Well, that was easy to follow, actually. So, and then they did it, and they were completely ecstatic. Hey, this is nice. I want to stay here. You just take prasadam and dance. Prabhupada didn't even organize book distribution. It happened on its own. He said we should spread Krishna consciousness, but he had no plan, actually, detailed plan how to sell these books. He tried, he was thinking maybe in commercial way or advertisement or whatever, until we know the history. 2 brahmacharis paid a petrol on a gas station by giving the man a book. The one brahmachari who did that, he came out of the gas station so ecstatic that the other one was going, what happened? He said, hey, I just distributed a book. The books are already there, but nobody knew what to do with them. So then he tried also. They both came back to the temple totally ecstatic. So differently. So devotees were going, Prabhu, what happened to you? Well, we were in a gas station and we gave him a book and So he said, oh, we have to try it out too. The whole temple became like this. And it got news that in that temple they are all very ecstatic. Now we are happy, they are all happy people chanting, but not like this. So they try it too. So it spread like a thing like this from one temple to the other. And suddenly the Harinam parties practically disappeared. It became all book distributors. The news came to Prabhupada, and of course he liked it very much. And then he had to take a standpoint. Like example, what is more important, Harinam or book distribution? Prabhupada said both things are very important, but book distribution is more important. He made it very clear. And why not do both? You know, it's possible. But he was very clear about this. So, you know, so then it became more and more. Prabhupada himself was surprised. He said, I never expected this. First time he heard in Vrindavan that Manidhara Das and Rohini Sutta Das were distributing in one day 108 and 109 books, something like that. Distributing actually in 1 week, what was this, 507 or 508 books. We had a competition going on all the time. We had a fierce competition going on. So at that time, the GBC in Germany, who was in Vrindavan, telling this to Prabhupada, Prabhupada became silent and he said, bring me a paper. And they brought this Indian aerogram. Nowadays, nobody knows probably what it is, but it's just a letter paper which you can write and then you fold it together and it becomes like an envelope. It's a very thin, you know, and you can send it by airmail. Probably those days, the fastest type of communication. You know, next to telefax. That's another thing. So, Prabhupada said, bring me a paper. And he dictated that letter. Short letter. Simply thanking us for the books being distributed. And then I remember coming Saturday back to the Schloss Rettershof in Germany, to the temple. And the temple president had this letter in a hand. Already opened, of course, because, you know, there was no privacy for brahmacharis, right? So the letter was already open. And he just gave me the paper like this and he said, now you are saved. I didn't know what it is. So I opened it and there was a letter from Prabhupada. I never wrote him a letter. I never even saw that he will think much about me. I thought, well, there are so many book distributors out there. What's the big deal? I have this letter until today. So, and I think it is much due to this letter and to this few books I distributed in these 15 years that I'm sitting here. Without that, I don't think I will sit here. There are so many ways to live Krishna consciousness. Maya has such a nice ideas. Come. Do this, do that, do this, do that. You will like it. Maya has so many nice offers. Please come and join me. I see myself. I could see the Manidhara artist trying to make something so genius. that only I can understand what it is. That's called the artist. Artists always think, I'm not recognized. Don't they see how unique I am? And everybody goes, what kind of garbage is this? This is how I would end up. I knew people already who ended up like this. And then out of despair, I will probably take shelter in some intoxication or something just to forget this misery. This is, we all have a karmic destiny. It's written on a wall. There's some choices to be made, but basically it's written on a wall. When you go on Sankirtan, it's all finished. It's still written there on a wall, but you don't have to follow that. You can look at it. Oh, that would be me like a karma. That's quite far out. No, it's not happening because you are covered by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It's not happening. Therefore, Sankirtan devotees are so beautiful because everybody reflects this unique mercy, aspect of that mercy. And everybody has another way to distribute. It's quite amazing, which is based on his conditioning also. Some devotees, they are like, hello, and some devotees are going, hello. You know, yeah. Everybody has something. We are differently conditioned even. But that beauty of the whole thing, it all becomes purified on Sankirtan. That was for me the most biggest bliss to see Bhakta Hans becoming a Sankirtan devotee. I remember one, his name was Krishna Kanamrita later on. He was one of the very few who joined here in Germany who didn't look much German. He came from a very rich family, which was very unusual. Usually, like I said, people came from jail or from some drug rehabilitation or whatever. But he came from a very rich family. And I remember first time seeing him sitting in a Sandivis, I was going, oh, he looked like very nice. You know, and he was taking prasadam. This is very good. And he had this expensive feather, you know, and I was going like, ha! Even the aristocracy is coming now to Sunday feast. No, he wanted to stay. So he ended up again in my Sankirtan van. I was going, oh. You know, it's like putting some exclusive bird in a pig place, a gross, you know. So he was like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So I knew I had a special places which were quite peaceful for distribution, so where I can keep check on them. So I put him out of the car. I put the books around his neck and I showed him the basic stuff, which I just explained basically. And he was like, oh, it's cold. You know, and I was like, yeah. How long does this one last? You know? So he was going to a person and he was very nice. You know, he was like, hello. And the person bought a book. And he came running across the parking lot to meet. I sold a book. I told him, don't get puffed up. It was too late because the mechanism to get puffed up was not recognized yet. So he was like, and then he didn't do anything for 1 hour. So he was not so puffed up anymore. That's how you learn on Sankirtan, you know. Puffed up, no book distribution. More humble, more book distribution. It goes like this. This is the training you get. If you want to know about the science of real humility, you have to go on Sankirtan. That's where you learn it. You don't learn it by sitting somewhere and even chanting. That much I would say. You can chant, I'm so humble, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And somebody comes and say, Prabhu, you are not so humble. What do you mean I'm not humble? Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Yeah, the test will be coming. But on Sankirtan, it's instant. You get puffed up, you know. So it's very nice, very regulating. So then he distributed 2 books more. That was it for the day. The next day he did 6. On Friday he did 52. On Saturday we drove back. The same man who left on Monday, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 just broke into the door and going, go! They were all like, they looked at me and said, what have you done with him? I said, nothing. I just showed him how to distribute books, that's all. Became one of the biggest book distributors here. So, yeah, this is what you see, what's happening when the flow of Lord Chaitanya mercy starts to happen there. It's very invigorating because, you know, this process works. This is real. A crazy person, a blind man can see stars in the sky, a layman stands to dance, and a man who never spoke one word recites poetry. This is happening on Sankirtan. So you gave him something, that's okay. And the rest, he may do so much nonsense in his life or whatever, but this was the real thing. Even the touch, when that person touched the book, this few seconds. I mean, you saw it on Sankirtan, sometimes they go, when you get a book and you go, he buys the book, Next few seconds, he's the same depressed character like before. But these few seconds, he will never forget. After millions of lifetimes, the soul was like, finally, some devotional service here. And on top of that, he got a book in a hand which he can transmit to somebody else who can benefit from it even more as he can. Because we never know. These books are like preachers. They have their own life, you know. Oh, I could tell you stories about where these books can end and what they can do. This is a story I heard from the very early days in America. There was two hippies going out in the mountains. They was popular. They had some cottage there in a forest. So they went in a forest and they took LSD. Just to see how the forest is changing. The same night, suddenly came a heavy snowstorm. Change of climate, change of season. And the whole place got completely covered by snow. The cottage and everything. So they were full of LSD, of course, and one of them, he came, I never took this, but I spoke to many devotees who actually got this as a horror trip. Everything flops over and you get incredibly anxiety and fear. So this one of them, he got on such a condition, and I heard there's a condition where it's probably mental, but still it's very dangerous. You are afraid if you don't consciously breathe, then you stop breathing and you die. It's such a anxiety. So he came into this state, getting completely out of control. So the other said, okay, so he opened the door, it was piles of snow, and he dug himself out of the snow, heading for some help, you know, make it down to the village, it's a long distance. And the other one, he ended up lying there in this snow-covered cottage, scared that he will fall asleep, because when he falls asleep, he cannot consciously control his breath and he will die. So just not to fall asleep, he was looking, and then he saw there was a shelf, and there was the first edition, the Macmillan edition of Bhagavad Gita standing there, amongst other books. So he instinctively grabbed the book, and he kept it like this, and he read it because it helped him not to fall asleep. You know, while he couldn't move, and he was just trying to consciously breathe so he doesn't die, and he was reading Bhagavad Gita like this. Practically most of the night, before his friend finally brought some help, and they were digging him out and carrying him out and brought him to the hospital with the Bhagavad Gita. So the first thing he did, when he came back to his senses and to this kind of normal state, he looked at the back of the Bhagavad Gita, the address of the temple, and he joined and became a devotee. You can also become devotee like that. That's extreme, of course, but there are many stories how people found a book somewhere, this, that, you know, and got in association of devotees and joined. We never know. Every book counts. You never know. Problem is we have so many of them, so we think, so many. No, each single one of them is most precious. You never know where they end. Once upon a time, I renovated a quite demolished house in the middle of Swedish landscape. And on the loft, I found from the previous owner boxes of books, garbage, all of that, you know, all kinds of strange things. So it was cold in the winter, so I used the books to warm up the place. But then suddenly I opened one box and there was Easy Journey to Other Planets and Life Comes from Life. I said, how did these books got into this empty house which was standing here for the last 10 years empty? You never know. Prabhupada said, even one line when they read, one word, they get benefited. So we should never forget that, and anybody becoming part of such a wonderful mission and wonderful welfare activity, that's a real welfare. To save somebody, or we are not speaking about saving even, just to help him from the worst. Now we are sitting here as humans. What about next lifetime if you sit here as a dog or a cat or whatever? Of course, in Germany, being a dog is not the worst, but still, so what? This was also so nice what Kadambakana Maharaj said. We forgot. I mean, we were all in all these bodies. Look at this bird sitting there in a cold, What is the birds doing? All day eating. If you stop eating, you are dying. As simple as that. What a karma is this? Picking, picking, picking. Always afraid. Who is coming? Picking, 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 flying. Just imagine. I heard that one bird he has to eat, that small bird, he has to eat a day 7 times of his own weight. That much food. Just imagine, as a human, you have to do that. Just eating, 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 eating. Eating, fearing, all the time. Prabhupada gave us an example. He said, and this is just a bird. I mean, this is very precious moments we are living here through in these bodies. And then you come to this, you get these books, you can give it to others. We cannot even estimate what kind of fortune we got here. I don't know, what's the timing? Somebody has to cut me down. Or... Yeah. Huh? Me? In a short summary, it was the best time of my life. Of course, in that moment, I couldn't understand that.
No.
Generally, if you want to stay brahmachari, then better you are a brahmana. Because any kshatriya impulse or some many impulse or some good food, good work impulse, this is all putting you in a category of you must get married. If you are lucky and you have a good advisors, you may find a somewhat suitable match. There's a big science in a Vedic society about that. Don't blend people just like that. That's another thing. Devotees sometimes do experiments. It's unbelievable. It's like, I think, what? He got married to her? Wow. How does this work? You know? So actually, it's a serious issue. But Prabhupada ultimately had a simple, even to the marriage department, he had a simple solution to that. He said, if they are both devotees, it will be okay. So much for the astrology. Now, astrology is useful, but ultimately it is, are they devotees or not? Because if they are both devotees, that gives you lots of strength to overcome all the problems which are coming. And then Prabhupada didn't make any secret. He said if one of them stops being a devotee, doesn't want to have anything to do with Krishna consciousness, then you cannot do anything. You have to split. That you cannot do that. And it did happen. Otherwise, weakness and problems and struggle, well, that's what the whole thing is about. When she goes down, he helps. When he goes down, she helps. I can give you stories. This is now another department, but I can give you stories how devotees can help each other. It's incredible. When Grihastha Ashrama started in Germany, because this yatra started pure brahmachari, okay? There was only one, Hansa Tutta, he was Grihastha, but he was considered the incarnation of Godhead or something like this, so he didn't count. So, but anybody else was brahmachari, brahmacharini. That's it. Yeah, but then the Grihastha Ashrama started to come up. And it was problematic right away from the beginning because actually devotees were very young, very inexperienced, So nobody knew really what he's doing. Of course, there were problems and there were, things. But I remember the very same, my godbrother, the GBC, we had one of my godbrothers, he was known for being extremely talkative, never came to a program, never came to a lecture, but he was always standing out there going, and then he got married. And then to my surprise, because I was somehow serving that function, because our GBC was sannyasi, was very strict, never alone with a lady. So he always called me, I should sit there when he had some lady meeting. I don't know why. So I got lots of these meetings, So I was just sitting there, just playing furniture, just, like I don't exist. It was embarrassing because sometimes it was very intimate issues. So to my amazement, he didn't preach to that devotee because he was known for being quite hopeless. He called the wife, and he was newly married. And the wife came in and he looked at the hair, and ladies kind of like it when they are exclusively loyal to the sannyasi, and entrusted with special task. So she came in, yes, Maharaj. And he said, your husband never comes to any program, talks the holy nonsense with others, you know that? And she said, oh yeah, I know that. He is a very loose, talkative guy. I know that. Then he made like this. I remember this scene. He said, you have him wrapped around your small finger like this. So just pull a little bit. Simple instruction. The next morning he was in a Mangalatik. We were all like, wow. Only I knew, how did she do that? So whatever can be used to improve the standards, okay? But it's a very special story. I'm not saying this is always like this, or it has to be done like this. But anybody who is struggling can be assisting if they are devotees. Just one chanting, it's already a help. You look at your husband, hey, he's chanting. You look at your wife, oh, she's chanting. Oh, God. It's not normal. Normal people don't do that. So that's help. And a brahmachari, well, he gets help from association of other brahmacharis. That's important. If there is no other brahmachari, this single brahmachari living in a flat on social welfare, well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a name for it, bachelor brahmachari. It's basically a man with no woman. That's it. Why he has no woman? Well, there are various reasons. Maybe he's afraid. Or he doesn't want to take up the responsibility, because the whole thing is about responsibility. They always go, falling in love. Yeah, how long that lasts? Then comes the responsibility. And that's, Prabhupada pointed out, that's the real word for that ashrama. Responsibility. For her, for him, and for our material conditioning. I'm responsible now. I got myself into the body, so I have to do something about it. And that's what it is. Otherwise, on Sankirtan, it's no difference. There's Mataji going out doing 100 bogs, there's a Grihastha going out 100 bogs, there's Brahmachari going out. Where's the difference? You think people see the difference? No, they don't care. This is another beautiful thing about Sankirtan. It's really beyond Vana and Ashrama. It's transcendental. If somebody wants to be transcendental, get a book and go out. Simple. But otherwise, whenever I can, I go, Brahmachari ki jai. You know, as a training anyway. When one is young, joins this movement, things are kind of cloudy, you know. You don't know who really you are, what your really qualities are, where you, which place you could function best. So if I has, come on, I joined, I was 18. I had only one girlfriend in my lifetime, and she told me, it's going to be the monks or me. I was going, well, the monks are probably better. And that was it. So, and then Brahmachari, Prabhupada went even so far. I couldn't believe it what he said. He said, why are people taking contraceptives? We can offer an alternative. Brahmachari, that's our contraceptive method. It's fact. No problem. Problem solved. Finished. Ladies, I remember my GBC used to laugh because, as a brahmachari, you tend to be a little bit fanatic or something. So I used to call them Matajis the species, like aliens, species. There's 8,400,000 species, and then there's some species called the Matajis. And actually, it's a fact. I never could understand how they work, neither I bothered. For me, it was basically a man with long hair. Once in Germany, they all shaved up. GBC got me and said, you are in charge. What have they done? And I said, well, they are now, almost shaved up. They had all short hair. I said, what have they done? And he yelled at me like it's my responsibility. I said, I don't know. He said, tell them this is nonsense. Women must make long hair. So, so I had to go and give a lecture about long hair. That was my brahmachari service. Oh my God. When I think about this, it was so bizarre. I was the brahmachari in Germany who had the best knowledge about saris. I could tell in a half a kilometer distance how much silk is inside and how much nylon. Why? Well, because I was the only one to India going shopping, I was famous in Loi Bazaar. Oh, Manidhara Prabhu, Manidhara brahmachari, very good, nice sari, come, nice sari, nice sari. That's absurd. Because those days, not everybody could go to India like that. It's absurd. Meetings with Matajis and everybody placed the orders, cholis and petticoats and all this. I didn't know what it is. They showed me. I was going, oh, Krishna. I went to my GBC and told him, you know how I feel as a brahmachari? I feel, you gave the example, and Prabhupada also gave the example, how you control a donkey. You sit on him, you have a stick, and in a rope there's a carrot. So the carrot comes from nowhere in the nose of the donkey. The donkey is stupid. He thinks, oh, this is a nice carrot. So he makes a step to bite into it. Of course, the carrot also makes one step. And then how you can control the donkey? Wherever you point the carrot, he will go and going, I need the carrot. He said, that's how I feel when I manage this Mataji's. I am that carrot, you know that? And he looked at me, he smiled, he said, it's okay, just don't get eaten. It was a great instruction. I was saying, well, thank you very much. But I don't remember one day of some problem. It sounds strange today, but I have only good memories. What these girls did on book distribution here, you cannot imagine. I can give you exact numbers. 15 girls out there, each one doing 400 books a week. You make a calculation how much that is. So I think it's a clear sign we have to stop. All glories to all Sankirtan devotees. And I think Lord Nishingadev is just also very pleased just by seeing them. You can enjoy his shelter. As Prabhupada once said, and devotee asked, Prabhupada, actually you are educating us in a mood of Prahlad Maharaj, who prayed only for the benefit of others. Prabhupada said, yes, that's exactly what I want. So we should act like Prahlad Maharaj and be protected like Prahlad Maharaj by Lord Nishingadev. And we will. Those who are engaged in a mission, they are. Krishna never forgets such a service. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Manidhara Prabhu ki jai. You're not so good singer here. You have better singers here. Just get some singers. Katha